Vedanta is really the whole philosophy that comes from the Vedas, from which all of the other major Indian philosophy yogic systems come. And so the Vedic tradition of Vedic meditation is an applied form of Vedanta. The philosophy that the knowledge comes from is Vedanta. And it actually specifically means the final conclusion of the Veda. That sometimes it gets referred to more as, like people say in Buddhist tradition or in Vedanta when they're exploring different philosophical purviews on something. So Vedanta, it is a non-duality philosophy. What does that mean? It means that ultimately it all boils down to I am that, to that it is all one. There is no dualistic or oppositional thinking or of a binary. So in Vedanta, or the final conclusion of the Veda, it is thought that there is no division between the individual and cosmos, that they are ultimately unified. And Vedic meditation, once we get beyond the stress release, that kind of gives you a more cosmic awareness of yourself in the world. And it builds in certain ways where other levels of perception and awareness start to grow so that a human in a human nervous system can actually start to experience unity with things that are, yes, on a material level, separate from self. So it starts at, I start meditating and I start feeling more bliss and aliveness and I feel connected to myself. So that when I look at ocean, I feel really connected to ocean. And then there's sort of this intermediary phase, which we might call celestial consciousness or God consciousness. Not God as in Judeo-Christian, but God as in seeing the liveliness, the beauty in everything, because our sensory awareness is so much sharper than it was when we were stressed and not as developed. And in that state, I can look at the ocean and I can see the play of light on it, and I can hear the slap of the water on the sand, and I hear all of the beauty, the nuance, and the celestial divinity of it. And I'm also connected to it on top of that. But in unity, if I'm able to be in a state of unity, even as an individual human form, I look at the ocean and I can feel what's happening in the ocean through my own nervous system. I'm no longer just connected to it. I actually am ocean on some deep philosophical level, not even philosophical, on some deep experiential level, but I'm experiencing ocean through the form of Holly or whatever individual you might be. So that's just a way to kind of go through the different levels of awareness that Vedanta outlines and explores. And it was thought that Gaudapada was the genesis for codifying a lot of this, although you can go back a lot of the texts that are much older than when Gaudapada taught, the Mahabharata and the actual Vedas themselves. The Mahabharata is sometimes referred to as the fifth Veda. It's the grand Indian epic from which Gita comes. It became more of a codified philosophical system under Adi Shankara. And we still refer to the leaders of this tradition in India as the Shankaracharyas. There's one in each of the major directions. And our community is so fortunate that when we go to India with our teacher, Tom Knowles, or Maharishi Visyand Giri, which was his new name when he became Mahamandaleshwar this past year, that we get to go and visit the ashram of the Shankaracharya in waiting. His master is still in silence, has not dropped his body yet, so he can't be the official Shankaracharya, but it's expected he'll become Shankaracharya. And we get to go and have darshan with him, which is to say be in his space so that we can experience his direct eye contact and his soma, his presence. So that's a little bit of a very circuitous, roundabout way of talking about Vedanta, which specifically means the final conclusion of the Veda, the unity that I am that, but it is also more generally referred to as this kind of philosophical tradition of which Vedic meditation descends.